On November the 7th, 1872, the weather eased off and the Mary Celeste finally left the harbour and headed out into the Atlantic, where nobody would be seen again. Around the same time the Mary Celeste was preparing to set sail, there was another nearby ship, the Dei Gratia. Its captain was David Morehouse, and some accounts claim that he was good friends with the Mary Celeste captain Briggs, and they may have possibly had dinner together on the evening of their departure. But this was only recollected by Morehouse's widow 50 years later. The Dei Gratia set off on November the 15th, 8 days after the Mary Celeste, on the exact same route. The Dei Gratia managed to reach about midway between the Azores off the coast of Portugal around 1 PM on December the 4th, 1872, when they reported spotting a vessel about 6 miles ahead approaching them. The ship was making very erratic movements and her sails were set in a really odd manner. Captain Morehouse knew that something was wrong. As the ships approached one another, they could see that nobody was on deck and there was no response to their signals. They decided to head on board to investigate. Upon inspection, it was clear that this was in fact the Mary Celeste, but it was entirely deserted. The sails were in poor condition, some were entirely missing, and much of the rigging was damaged, with ropes hanging loosely over the sides. The main hatch cover was secure, but the fore and lazarette hatches were open. The ship's only lifeboat was missing, while the binnacle that housed the ship's compass had shifted from its original place, with its glass cover completely broken. There was about 3.5 foot of water in the hold, which is noteworthy, but certainly not an alarming amount for a ship this size. And a makeshift sounding rod, which is a device used to measure the amount of water on board, was also discovered abandoned on the deck. The last entry on the ship's log was found in the mate's cabin, dated 8 AM on November the 25th, 9 days earlier. It recorded their position as 400 miles from where they actually discovered her. The cabin interiors were wet and untidy due to the water that had entered, but were still in reasonably good condition. In the captain's cabin, personal items were scattered about, including a sheathed sword under his bed, but most of the ship's papers were missing, as well as the captain's navigational equipment. There was no food prepared, there were no signs of fire or violence. The evidence simply shows an orderly and organised departure from the ship on the missing lifeboat.